2023 is turning out to be the year of the mid-sized truck in America. This calendar year, we get all new versions of the Chevy, the GMC, and the Toyota, but today is all about Ford. They've dropped a whole lot of detail on the new Ford Ranger. Now, this is not a best-kept secret, of course, because we have seen the international market Ranger for a while, but today we got a lot of detail on what's happening in North America. Not everything, though. We don't know all the details. A lot of that is still going to come a little bit later, but let's run through what we do know. The biggest thing that I noticed here is that we're going to get three different engines, not just a 2.3-liter turbo, not just a 2.3 and a 2.7. We're also going to get a 3-liter twin-turbo 6 in the new Ranger Raptor. Let's start with that. This is a 3-liter twin-turbo 6, basically shared with the Bronco lineup. Remember that the Ranger and the Bronco are related to one another. This is going to produce 405 horsepower, 430 pound-feet of torque. It's committed to a 10-speed automatic transmission and an all-wheel drive system or four-wheel drive system that is very similar to what we find in the Bronco. And the style of off-roading that the Raptor is designed for is a little bit more like the big Raptor, the big F-150 Raptor, or of course the Bronco Raptor. So not quite the same kind of off-roading that you'll get in a Gladiator. That's one of the interesting things in the mid-sized truck segment is we find different car companies going after slightly different variations when it comes to the off-roading mission of their vehicles. Moab, obviously you could do in a Raptor Ranger or a Ranger Raptor, but you would probably be a little bit better suited to something like the Gladiator Rubicon. But if you wanted to do Baja-style racing, you could do that right from the factory in this new Ranger Raptor, and the Gladiator is a little bit less suited to that task. The Ranger Raptor, of course, gets all the visual exterior differentiation that you'd expect. It also gets bigger tires, KO3s, of course, there. Full-time four-wheel drive with the software treatment that we find in other Raptor models and improved Fox dampers. There's also probably going to be a little bit of extra ground clearance, and it gets a unique interior. We don't know pricing just yet, but expect this to be the most expensive version of the Ranger. Now, on the regular side of things, we get a 2.3-liter turbo engine standard, producing 270 horsepower, 310 pound-feet of torque, and then an optional 2.7-liter turbo, producing 315 horsepower, 400 pound-feet of torque. We don't know exactly which trims which engine will be offered in just yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if even the base version of the Ranger was available with the 2.7-liter turbo. That's something that Ford has done in a decent number of vehicles. Now, all three engines are going to be mated to Ford's 10-speed automatic transmission. This has been a little bit controversial in some circles. Not everybody is a fan of the way the 10-speed automatic transmission shifts. Personally, I like it, and I like the fact that we have so many gears to choose from that it really makes off-roading and towing a breeze in the Ranger. And that's why I'm actually disappointed that the Colorado and Canyon did not get the Ford GM 10-speed automatic. It actually was a cooperative development joint venture between General Motors and Ford. The 8-speed that we find in the Colorado and Canyon sometimes feels a little bit short on gears. This is likely going to be better performing, and it's probably going to be a little bit better when it comes to trailering as well. Speaking of trailering, Ford is moving some of the F-150's trailering tech down here into the Ranger. This is going to get the Pro Trailer Backup Assist, the automated backup steering system that you find in the F-150, an integrated trailer brake controller, and a 360-degree camera that we don't find in all of the options in this segment. We don't know exactly what's going to come on the new Tacoma, so be sure and stay tuned. May 19th is when we will be able to share all of the details with you on that one. Now, when it comes to the format of the vehicle, we're not going to get different bed and different cab sizes in this Ranger in North America at this time, it looks like. It does appear that every version of the Ranger is going to be the same size. Rather unfortunately, due to some scheduling issues, I wasn't able to see the Ranger in person, but let's take a look at the interior. You'll notice one thing right away. We have this big vertical screen in the middle of the dashboard. It's just about 12 inches, so it's a little bit smaller than the one we find in the F-150 or in the Ford Mustang Mach-E, but it is still really large for this segment, and I have to say it integrates better in the dashboard than I had expected. If you don't like that sort of tablet on top of the dashboard look that we find in some of the competition, you might like this because it's certainly more integrated into the dashboard with the air vents on each side. But there's also going to be a slightly smaller screen. I'm actually surprised that Ford decided to go with two different infotainment systems because the smaller screen is not that much smaller. It's about 10 inches. We don't have a picture of that one on the inside just yet. The instrument cluster is a 12-inch instrument cluster in most versions, but the base version is going to get a smaller 8-inch partial LCD instrument cluster, very likely similar to what we see in the Ford Bronco. Bearing in mind that these images are of the Bronco Raptor, it looks like we get orange accents for the air vents and some upgraded materials on the inside, a steering wheel that reminds me a little bit of the F-150 Raptor. It's going to have magnesium shift paddles on the back, which is a really nice touch. Looks like all of the same high-quality animations on that full LCD instrument cluster we find in the bigger trucks as well. It's difficult to tell materials quality here, but we are going to get a B&O audio system in the interior. It looks like we're going to get some stitched components on the upper section of the dashboard, so likely pretty similar in terms of materials quality to the new AT4X and the Denali vehicles in the GMC lineup, but probably no wood trim in here. Above the rearview mirror, we see a touch basically borrowed from the Bronco. These are 6 auxiliary switches, which is definitely more practical than the single auxiliary switch we find in the GMC Canyon. Now, going back outside for just a moment on this particular model, you'll notice that the exterior is definitely differentiated between the Ranger Raptor and the regular Ranger. But as far as Ranger previous generation to Ranger this generation, the look is definitely very consistent. And you can see sort of a grown-up Ford Maverick design in here. They wanted to differentiate it a little bit from the F-150, and they've certainly done that. Unfortunately, Ford didn't send me any pictures of the base model, but we do have some pictures of this XLT interior. You can see that we still have that big center screen there, still have the full LCD instrument cluster. Some of the plastics on the dashboard look to become hard plastics, just as you'd expect. But if we move on over to the Lariat interior trim, it looks like we get some of those stitched materials back. So you'll find those in the Lariat trim and in the Ranger Raptor. At least for the moment, Ford is not offering a hybrid system in the Ranger. I'm a bit disappointed by that because, of course, on either side of the performance and capability spectrum, we have the F-150 hybrid and we have the Maverick hybrid. They're definitely targeting different customers, but for someone in the middle, we don't have a hybrid option here, at least until we get the hybrid Tacoma, which we all know is coming. Now, if you want some power output in the bed, we do have an onboard 400-watt inverter, but they could have likely given us a higher performance inverter in the back if they'd given us a hybrid system, and of course they could have improved fuel economy a bit as well. If you want the fuel-efficient hybrid in this general size segment, that's obviously going to be the 40-mile-per-gallon Maverick. If you want the more capable hybrid option, that's obviously going to be the F-150 hybrid. If you want to know all the details on the new Tacoma hybrid, be sure and check out that video that should be coming on May 19th. While I am recording this video, I don't actually know all the details on the new Hybrid Max Tacoma. Lots of rumors have been swirling, and they're all over the map. Whether it's going to be a 2.4-liter hybrid system or a 3.5-liter hybrid system, we just don't know at the moment. But on May 19th, we will all know because that's when all those details drop. In the meantime, let me know which pickup truck are you most interested in this segment at the moment. Is it the Ranger? Is it the Canyon? Is it the Tacoma? Or is it something like a Nissan Frontier, which is definitely inexpensive? All indications point to the Tacoma losing its V6 in this upcoming generation. So if you want a V6 without a turbo, you're basically looking at the Gladiator or the Frontier in this body-on-frame mid-size segment. But on the other hand, if you want a twin-turbo V6, it's looking like we might just get the Ford Ranger. And I am really intrigued to drive the Ranger with the 2.7-liter twin-turbo. I think that's a really good sweet spot in this segment with 315 horsepower, 400 pound-feet of torque, and likely a smoother nature and extra gears versus the 2.7 that we find in the Colorado and Canyon. I do like that 2.7, but it can be a little bit rough around the edges at times, and I do prefer the way the F-150 with its 2.7 feels out on the road over the Silverado with the 2.7, and I suspect it's going to be much the same story when we compare Canyon or Colorado to the new Ford Ranger. Be sure and let me know what you think of the look of the Ranger down there. Do you like the grown-up Maverick look, or do you wish it was more of a scaled-down F-150? Of course, stay tuned because pricing, specifications, all those details are coming over the next few months. This is going to go on sale a little bit later in 2023, and that 2.7-liter is going to be late availability. So keep that all in mind, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see all of you later.